We vibing with another show. Tell me everybody, can you catch this flow? We're breaking down mental class sentence, so you know who we win. Tony Dixon and Friends. They tell me that the sky's the limit. Your purpose calling you, baby, you make the difference. Take charge, do you know who you win? Tony Dixon and Friends. Who we win? Tony Dixon and Friends. Yeah, yeah. Tony Dixon and Friends. Tony Dixon and Friends. Who we win? Tony Dixon and Friends.
To the Tony Dixon and Friends podcast. My name is Eric McAlpin, and our goal is to educate and inspire you to break your mental glass ceilings. And I'm here today again with my boy, Mr. Kelv Bailey.
What's up, my brother?
You, man, what's going on?
You got it, bro.
Iron sharpens iron, man. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also here with Mr. Tony Dixon. TD, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Happy to be back.
Yes, sir. And I think today we got a special guest. Good friend and frat brother, member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Who we got with us? Tony?
Man, see, I didn't even know all that.
Come on, man.
I didn't know all that. That's you know what? There's so much depth to you, man. But hey, we about to be in for a treat, man. It's some people you meet in life, and I've known this man now. I don't want to call it decades, but I've known him since my first playing days in Alabama. He's always been someone I looked up to. As a big brother, and our relationship has actually taken a different turn here recently in a positive way. So none other than the Reverend Kelvin Croom, who is the pastor of College Hill Baptist Church here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and thank you guys, and I'm very proud and excited about what y'all are doing.
Man, that's awesome, man.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, so where this story kind of picks up, and we've talked about it before. Number one, I just talked about you being a pastor, but before that, I understand you may have played a little football back in your days.
I tried. Yeah, I was very fortunate to play for the Crimson Tide, and I got to experience some great opportunities there to get my education, and also to play for who was then one of the greatest football coaches that the world had seen, and that was Coach Paul Bryant.
Yeah, you talk a lot of that. I've seen you over the years in some of your motivational speeches, and you know, as you're going around talking to kids about those opportunities. But there's also another part of this legacy when it comes to the Croom name. Were you the only Croom to play?
Well, no. At first, Sylvester played there at Alabama, made All-American, and had a lot of firsts. And he was one of the first black center to play at Alabama.
Wow.
One of the first, if not the first, to play in the SEC and so forth. And we know he was the first black head coach at Mississippi State. But my dad also played football at Alabama A&M.
Come on now.
All-American there at A&M.
Wow. Wow. But now it goes even further because your daughter was a cheerleader at Alabama, right?
Yes, she was a cheerleader until I sat there and said, you either got to cheer or got to study. Really, it got to be too much because at halftime during the games, the other cheerleaders out relaxing. She's down there with the biology book studying. I said, sweetheart, you got to let one go. Yeah. And it had to be cheerleader.
Yeah, but it's amazing because I've been a part of your family now for a while. Your son today leads the Croom Foundation.
Yes.
And Kelvin has been one of those guys, quite candidly, that's been an inspiration to me and my foundation. I stole some stuff from the website, all that. And, you know, still shamelessly, man. But here recently, I want to bring it up to where our relationship actually took a different turn. I was honored and had the opportunity to help promote the Forge movie. And as part of that, I did a VIP screening in Hoover, Alabama. And one of the people I said I have to have at this VIP screening was Reverend Croom. And I think what was interesting about that story, for those who have not seen the Forge movie, I really encourage you to go see it. It's one of those movies that is family friendly, is life changing. It meets you where you are. It's a faith-based movie. And it is absolutely amazing from a discipleship standpoint. But speaking of discipleship, we get there, and one of the scenes in the movie, and this don't even give it away by me saying this, but one of the scenes in the movie, it showed a vulnerable moment of the lead actor demonstrating how he was trying to hold on by himself on things he was going through in life. And in that demonstration, he was holding a sword out. And anybody know if you hold something out for a long time, after a while, that baby gonna get heavy, right? Heavy. But that demonstration was really a testament to what I've been doing in my life a lot, where I've been taking on a lot of things by myself. I've been holding on, not being vulnerable, not open up, not seeking out help, not using the resources that I have within my phone. And in this particular moment, I shared that with the group. It got extremely emotional for me because what I said, because this was not too long after my dad had passed. So I said, this is the first time in my moment, the first time in my life that I now feel that I'm alone. And it was at that moment that Mr. Croom stood up and said,
well, you're not alone. Hey, I'll always be there and so forth. And that's the beauty of having friendships, having relationships. And that's why I'm so proud of you young brothers and seeing what you all are building together and all. Football is a great sport that brings you together as a brotherhood. Yeah. And it's something that lasts a lifetime. Today I was on the phone with George Pugh. We checking on Wilbur Jackson and Woodrow Lowe and all of those guys. We keeping in touch, talking to Sylvester. We have a circle there that is very strong. Lewis Green, several others that we talk to. And, that bond runs deep. It's family. Yeah. You stayed in Bryant Hall. You played football there. You won, you lost, you cried. They had to go through the dungeon in the Coliseum. I got hurt, and I wasn't able to go through it. Thank God for that. But anyway, so what I see with you all, it takes me back. And I just tell you, stick together. And that's a great bond. I'm very proud of you all.
And that's where I want to go back, because you've been pouring into us for a long time. So I know from that came through experience. So talk about a little bit of your experiences, some of the things, of the successes that you had, and also some of those times, those moments where people may not know that maybe you didn't achieve the expectation you had for yourself, and you had to deal with that.
Okay. Well, first, I see Kev, Eric. I saw them grow up in high school. Yeah. And all. They went to the University of Central. Central High School Falcons in Tuscaloosa, small university. It was a powerhouse. Yes. Academically, athletically, socially, very powerful school. But I was very fortunate to grow up in Tuscaloosa and all. I've seen a lot of great things happen here. We've had some things that weren't so great, but we tried to live beyond those things. Of course, University of Alabama, that was integrated in 1963. The history there at Foster Auditorium, where Governor Wallace stood and said his famous speech about segregation today, tomorrow, and forever, what have you. But we saw how that turned out because I went there, and so did you guys, and so forth. So that was a blessing to have that opportunity to go. Now I've seen Coach Bryant considered the greatest coach in the 20th century and won 6 national championships. Then along comes Coach Nick Saban. That's right. Considered the greatest coach, a GOAT of all times, basically. Yeah. And he's won and been successful. So I've been very fortunate. Then to see Sylvester selected as the first black coach in the SEC, sitting in the stadium in Mississippi, a state that was known for its racial tension and so forth. I always wanted my dad to be there to see that. He'd have been very proud. I never forget, I had an uncle, James Orange, who worked very closely with Dr. King, particularly leading the youth division of SCLC. And we were traveling to one of the games, and he stopped there in Starkville, and he started crying. And Unc, what's wrong? He said, I'm going to a game in Mississippi State. He looked down to his right, and he said, on that road, I was beaten.
Wow.
I was beaten years ago, and here it is now. I never knew that I would see my nephew as the head coach of Mississippi State.
Wow.
And I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And all, but that was a great moment. So in my life, I've had ups and downs, like you addressed. On October the 27th, 1975, I had just been told that I was going to be the starting free safety against all schools, Mississippi State.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow.
And I go into practice, and actually I had on a yellow jersey because I had fluid drain off my knee that day before, which was a Sunday. And, I go through practice and got to the very last play. Coach Bryant said, this is the last play. So we huddle up, and I said a prayer, Lord, bless me to be in the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, earlier that day, I had been in the seminar with the head trainer, Goose Tree's daughter, Rebecca. We had gone to high school together. We were freshmen. And then Rita Brock, her dad was the head surgeon.
Wow.
And we were together, and I was telling them how I had been praying and asking God to bless me not to get hurt. Mm-hmm. But I said, whatever his will be done.
Yeah.
That evening, I said the prayer, Lord, bless me to be in the right place. About 5:15, it all happened.
Wow.
My foot got stuck in the turf.
Wow.
And I saw two crimson helmets, and they hit me on the outside of my right knee and snapped it like a chicken bone.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow.
All I remember is flying through the air, and I knocked my helmet off, and I laid there, and the pain stopped. Mm-hmm. And then I said, let me up, and Sylvester was there. He looked at me, and he shook his head and walked away.
Wow.
And 2 hours later, I was on the operating table. Mm-hmm. Goose Tree.
Yeah.
And Dr. Brock.
That's right.
And I thought about that. And so they put my knee back together, and I woke up around 11 o'clock from the sedation, and what was on? NFL football of all things.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow.
And I looked at that, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to see that.
Right.
But the next day, I remember I got word that a neighbor, a guy in the room next door to me, a tree had fallen on him.
Oh my God.
And he was young, probably 18 or 19. Mm-hmm. And his pelvis was crushed. He never would walk again. But at least I had the hope that I would walk again.
Yeah.
Come on.
And so people couldn't understand what was it, why was I so cheerful and high-spirited?
Yeah.
Because I thank God for the years I did play.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow.
And then I knew that if I never played again, I would be able to walk out.
Oh my God.
And so that was powerful for me. And then trying to rehab, and sometime later, I was able to meet with Coach Bryant, and I realized I couldn't perform the way I wanted to. And I told him, Coach, I just can't do it. He said, I'm glad you reached that decision. He said, football is not important as your walking and ability to have a life. He said, now, you'll never play football here again, but now you'll be on the team. He said, you can travel to the games, you can put a uniform on. Your uniform will be there, but you'll never set foot on that field because the fact football is not that important. And he did challenge me to get your education.
Yep.
So in 2003, when I walked across the stage with my doctorate degree, the highest degree that they offer at the University of Alabama, I just said, thank you, Lord.
Wow.
Come on.
So with all of that said, I've been blessed.
Wow.
I've been blessed. I didn't get a chance to play in the NFL like you guys did. But that wasn't important to me.
Right.
Family was the most important thing to me. And at that time, when I was coming along, guys would be uprooted.
Yep.
And then their families would be left.
Yeah.
And they would be somewhere else, and the children. And I saw too much of that. I didn't want that for my children.
Yeah.
And all. And so I'm at peace, and God finally helped me to understand just about 3 years ago. And I was like, Lord, I didn't get to play. I was at peace. But then I started realizing CTE is serious.
Yeah.
They taught me to hit with my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I used to knock them out.
Come on.
I was very pleased. My coach at the time in secondary was Coach Bill Oliver, one of the best. And Coach Oliver had a meeting of all his former players he coached. We met in Birmingham. And he told the guys, out of everybody he had coached, I was the hardest hitting cornerback, defensive player that he had ever coached. Yeah. I used to hit so hard that I would see little white speckles.
Yes, sir. That's how you do it.
See the stars.
That's how you do it.
And so what the Holy Spirit told me that had I continued that throughout my career, it probably wouldn't have ended up well for me. A few years ago, we lost Mike Washington. Yeah. And we've had some others that have gone and dealt with CTE. And so I understood that I was already at peace and so forth. But I've had great experiences and all. I remember one of the best experiences I had during my freshman year was when there was 3 brothers that came out, black guys that came from Birmingham. I wish I knew who they were. Now, they would come to practice. And just to see them.
Just watch.
It was so inspiring.
Wow.
As a result of that, I go to practice now. Every Thursday when it's indoors. Too cold to be outdoors. I wait till when they're indoors on Thursdays, just for that reason, to be there to let the guys know that we care and we're there. It's easy for me. I'm here in Tuscaloosa and able to do that. And I thank the university officials that they allow us to come to practice and so forth. But
I think it's amazing that you've continued to be an inspiration throughout that. You saw in that moment of life, and you said something pretty awesome there that I don't want to miss, is that in that moment you said a prayer.
Oh, yes.
Right? And in that moment, it didn't go the way you may have thought that prayer would go. And I think there's been times in my life, I'll speak for myself, where I've said a prayer and it didn't go the way I wanted to, and it was anger that I was left with. I was left with feeling like I'd been, passed over for something. But what you said was people didn't understand why I was cheerful. And, and now here today, being a pastor of College Hill Baptist Church and going back and you being that light to those other players, when did that moment come in as you became and that call? You had that calling. Did you already have that calling?
Oh, yeah. I had the calling when I was 12. And I knew it. Something I didn't want to do, But at the time, my dad was preaching. I was 12, and he passed out while he was preaching. And I went to him in the pulpit, and they were working on him. And I said, Dad, I'll finish the sermon. And he
at 12.
He said, no. It'll be okay. And I know that bothered him for the rest of his life because he felt he stood in the way.
He stood in the way.
But it was around 1977, I believe it was, and I received the calling. I knew it. I was challenged to do something about it, and I didn't want to. But my prayer was, Lord, if I am to preach, when Dad stands up, and this was a Sunday morning about 1 o'clock, and I'm talking to the Lord, if you want me to preach, let Dad say that somebody in this congregation been called to preach, because there was about 30 plus men and women that under his tutelage that went into the ministry, and God had revealed it to him and all. So he got ready to preach, and he said, someone here has been called to preach. I said, man, somebody other than me. I'm looking. I just sat there. I said, wow, that's somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yeah, somebody else. And then, lo and behold, when I came to myself, I was embracing him in the pulpit.
Oh, my God.
And I knew that was my calling. See, I used to play church when I listened to the great artists talk about when she was a child, the queen of gospel,
Shirley Caesar.
Shirley Caesar.
She did that song about how they were playing.
Yep.
And then this particular time they weren't playing. But my daddy had a certain preacher style, and I would mimic him.
Come on.
I had an uncle who had another one. I would mimic him. And then I had my dad's best friend. He was preaching. And I had all these preachers, so I knew how to mimic the preachers.
That's right.
And so we would be playing, shouting and all that, and I would be tearing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And I never forget when I started preaching, I always remember, don't you be up there playing, you better be serious.
Right.
But it's the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
I think about it now. Out of billions of people in the world, God called me.
Wow.
That's special.
Wow.
And all of that. So he took a leather football away in 1975. And then 1977, he gave me a leather Bible.
a level Bible.
And so I'm still playing for the greatest coach ever.
Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Reverend Croom, when you talk about, you had to come to the acceptance of giving up football because you wanted to make sure you were there for your family. Now, one of the things that I've always known about you, because I grew up with your kids, right? You've always been there.
Yep.
You've always been there. And I'm sure listening to how you talk about how you want your father to be proud of you, I'm sure you're proud of your kids. Talk to us about, I guess, some of the lessons and the ways that you've instilled encouragement and standards in your kids.
Well, I think my mom and dad, they were always available for Sylvester and myself. Whatever we were doing, if they couldn't be there, and that was very seldom that they weren't there, they made sure one of the aunts or uncles was there. We always had family support, whether it was academic, athletic. When we came, there was somebody there for us. But I've always loved family and grew up with a big family on the maternal and paternal side. And it's just something that was special to me. And I was blessed to have 4 children and all. And I thank God that they are here in the vicinity. Of course, Kennis died in 2022. And but it's just something that Tracy and myself, we just was there to support them and all of that. I always felt they didn't ask to come into the world. And, that was something that we did. And I wanted them to have the best experience. My dad sacrificed. My grandfather sacrificed as well. And to this day, my granddad, I remember he worked at the Central Foundry baking pipes down there. And sometimes he had to walk home. And he would get home around 10:30 at night, and my aunt was there. She would have his meal ready. But sometimes we stayed there a little late because our moms working and so forth and in school during the summertime and what have you. And he would be hungry, but he would see us like little birds in the nest. Our little miles waiting to get fed. And he would tell her, give those kids the food. He went to bed hungry.
Wow.
And to this day, with my children, they're grown now, but my grandchildren, they seem to wait till I want that last little bite. But let them eat.
Yeah.
I do the same thing in church.
Yeah.
And children eat first, then the adult women, and then the men. I eat last. Now, I want to make sure everybody got something.
Yeah.
But then, too, when I get ready to eat, don't be talking about you hungry. No, I'm going to get what I want then. No, but my whole thing is family's been very important. And one of the things my parents did with us, they had conversations with us. Now, they would sit down and talk with us. Even when they had their friends, they would come over. What do you all think? They never tried to fix us. They asked us, what can we do to help you all navigate life?
That's strong.
And that's what I do with my children. Now, I do remember showing them who's the head of the house.
Yeah.
Sat them down and put the mortgage on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And said, now look on and see whose name. Now, y'all don't see y'all name. Y'all see mom and dad name.
Yeah.
Understand, this is our house.
Yeah.
You have a time that you are given to stay here.
Yeah.
And then that time comes for you to move.
Yeah.
And all that, but just being there, making things affordable for them, great experiences, things that I knew that they could carry on in life. Yeah. And I spend a lot of time with my grandchildren now, creating memories, because I'm going to be gone one day. Yeah. And my children talk about my parents and things that they did. So when I'm dead and gone, I want that legacy to continue and all of that. You know, we just try to make sure that we leave them financially strong as well. Guys buy a lot of land, get land. They're not making any more. Yes. And so that invest in that stuff that you can leave so that we can have wealth created for generations to come and so forth.
Man, it's, you know, you talked about we just had an episode that spoke about the power of presence, where we were relating that. You know, I don't know how we're going to get all of this in, because you said something in that moment that we won't get a chance to hit on, but you brought up Bill Oliver.
Oh, yeah, that's the man.
Well, what you don't know about this, and I didn't know this either until we just sat down, Bill Oliver is the reason I played defensive back.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Bill Oliver was the reason that I played defensive back when he was here on staff with Coach Stallings, and that was the Homer Smith era and all of them. Brother Oliver was the first one to say, you know what, I think you should consider playing defensive back. Interestingly enough, he was at Auburn when we were coming in. And Brother Oliver was also that person that was that also said, hey, you have to make sure you do what's right for you. So that's how good this man was in that moment. And he said, hey, I want to coach you. I want to be successful. But had he not put into me that about being defensive back, Tony Dixon would have never been a defensive back, which is pretty awesome. The other thing I don't want to pass up on is everything you said about, you know, the legacy that you are taking charge of. You are taking charge of that legacy. But one of the things that was also in the forge that was so apparent was the power of forgiveness. And unfortunately, you experienced something with one of your children. But in that moment, there was a demonstration of your faith. Can you walk through a little portions of what happened in that moment, how you dealt with it, and what's since become since all this happened?
Well, I get a phone call on June the 9th around 5 and asked had I heard anything about my son, Kennis, who was a Meridian police officer. And no, I hadn't heard anything. Well, something happened, I was told, and you need to get down there to Meridian. And so I called up his sisters, and because Kevin was out of town somewhere, and so we head down there, and I'm making phone calls as we go, and I can't get anything from the hospital. They just said, get here. Well, I kind of figured something drastic had happened, and I called one of the local physicians that I had confidence in, and he made a phone call. And as soon as we hit that exit to go to West Alabama, and I'll never forget that day, he said, Kelvin, I'm sorry. Wow. And when he said that, the girls heard it, and it was tough driving. And I got a phone call from a police friend, and they just told me, hey, look, they need you there now. How fast are you driving? I said 75. They said, push it to 90. Wow. And they said, if they stop you, we're clearing the road. But when I get there, of course, a lot of emotions. Yeah. And now I'm taking on a role. This is my son, but yet these are my daughters. I have to keep my composure. Why is that? Because now I get how he died. A senseless killing. Another gentleman that perpetrated the crime, he killed the mother of 4 children. And my son was there, and in that process, he was killed in ambush, so to speak. It hurt, and so forth, but I'm teaching God's word to forgive. I go through the emotions and so forth, but I had to forgive. And I even talked to some of the officers. You guys, they wanted to retaliate. And but you have to forgive. You have to forgive. And on the day of sentencing, which came 2 years later, last year sometime, I was fortunate to be in the court and address the judge because he had the final decision to do life or sentencing to death. And the gentleman that perpetrated the crime, he decided that he would confess to avoid having a trial, and he took a life plea and so forth. And I talked to him. Now, he's a young guy in his 30s, might be early 40s. He'll be in prison the rest of his life. But my talk to him was, hey, do some good. You know, I could hate you. I could wish all kinds of things. That's not going to bring my son back. And if my son was here, he would look at you and tell you, man, I forgive you. Wow. And I had to forgive him because I preached that. The best sermon I preach is never standing before the congregation. It's the time I leave and the time I come back.
Oof. Yeah.
Let your light so shine before others that they may see your good works and glorify the Father which is in heaven.
Wow.
And so I had to forgive because I taught my congregation, you cannot have peace until you forgive.
Wow.
And so we're celebrating on the 20th, Resurrection Sunday. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son.
Yeah.
Driving back with the director of the funeral home here in Tuscaloosa that took care of the affairs for our son, the gentleman looked back and he said, I'm sorry that your son died and all of that. And I said, sir, look in your rearview mirror. I said, I have 3 more children. I said, God gave his only. I have 3. And so I was taught to look at the glass as being half full versus half empty. I'm just glad I got a glass.
Come on.
And so we continued the legacy by giving a scholarship. Kevin was blessed to have a vision. What can I do for my brother? We had a young man from Holt who was a senior basketball player, had a scholarship waiting for him, but in a domestic situation similar to what Kennis lost his life. And Kennis had been there when Kevin started the foundation and so forth. But this guy died trying to protect his sister.
Wow.
And so Kevin was led to start the West Alabama Church Basketball League.
Yep.
And he started that. Different churches around Tuscaloosa played games to get kids something to do positive in the summertime.
Yeah.
But then that led into the Croom Foundation. And now he has getting ready to leave in the morning, taking the group down to some part of Louisiana for AAU basketball program. They're going to visit LSU and some schools like that. But that's what got it going. And so we give away a scholarship now in Kennis' honor. There was a young man that played football at Central High School. And Kennis was very proud of his efforts and all. And so we named the first scholarship after that guy. And since then, we've had 120 kids to date right now. They've gotten scholarships all over the nation to go to school free of charge, and they actually get paid going to school. So that legacy continues, and so forth. I have my moments. I have a bracelet on here. Talks about him. His end of watch was in June 9th in 2022, and so that's a reminder. And not a day passed that somebody doesn't mention him or something about the Croom Foundation and what difference we're trying to make. So I'm at peace.
Yeah. No, that's I couldn't let that moment pass because you hear people talk about going through things, but it's different when you're actually in it.
That's true.
It's you know, having knowledge and understanding are 2 different things.
That's true.
But it's a testament of who you've always been, who've always represented to me in my life. So it's not a surprise to see that. But as we as fathers, think about that. I think as fathers, you think about that. That's probably your biggest fear. We shouldn't be anxious over it, but there is a part of you that always think about what if, right? But what I take from that is control what you can control, show up when you can show up, and continue to you actually lead in the way that you want the legacy to be. And the Croom family is strong for a reason.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The Croom family is strong for a reason, and I know there's more. No, we're at time, at least for this one. We're gonna pick this up. This is definitely a part 2 moment. So Eric, take us out, and we're gonna pick this back up on part 2.
Man, thank y'all for tuning in for an episode of the Tony Dixon and Friends, where we have a special guest today, Reverend Kelvin Croom. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tell others about us. But again, continue to go out, be great, and break those mental glass ceilings.